Yes, Madam Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate Price, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I do realize the late hour, but I felt compelled to associate myself with some comments that were made earlier and to make it even more plain. There have been calls from the other side of the aisle, from my side of the aisle, to stop looking into the past and stop finger pointing and just move forward. And first of all, last month isn't just some distant past just because folks are trying to distance themselves from abject failures of the last administration. Second of all, these calls are premature because we have not had an acknowledgement of what has fully transpired. It took a whole domestic terrorist act of an attempted coup for some members to even remember that they had Twitter accounts, because prior to January 6th, it was crickets on matters of life and death like the global pandemic. It is infuriating that the other side completely undermined public safety by making masks and social distancing political and by consistently demonizing science, the same science that their morning speeches today clung to for dear life. And this hurt efforts by the governor and his administration to work to stop the spread. Being so contrarian, some would endanger themselves versus wear a mask or stay home because someone saving actual lives became a form of bondage for those who have no idea what that word means. We are still experiencing the impacts of incompetence and maliciousness of the previous federal administration. It's really rich to hear a call to just move on from folks that have been benefiting from and were complicit in the falsehoods and incompetence that was forced upon us. And there are still untruths being proliferated today. We heard today, and if you're going to quote, to come correct. Well, Dr. Fauci didn't just say send the kids back. Dr. Fauci said send them back with all of the CDC safety precautions in place. And as was mentioned today, we have to face that there are districts that simply do not have all of those safety factors in place. They have been underfunded for years. I do not feel like the concerns that have been raised for these schools have been addressed. Virginia could have had hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding from the HEROES Act to address the mitigation cost to prepare schools to open safely, but no, it was negotiated down by the other side's friends in D.C. But Madam Speaker, I know unity feels better and bipartisanship is the goal of many, but so much damage has been done that I will not be silent in the face of calls for a facade of unity. I want folks to know that I fully reserve the right to restate factual occurrences in our last few years until the impact of that damage is no longer hitting the lives of Virginians. It is a fact that our twice impeached president, former president, and his silent accomplices refused to act, and it cost us lives, time, and resources. It is a fact that high-risk folks are still high risk. And as we celebrate the lowering of the number of cases and deaths, the numbers are still quite concerning. And we need to normalize people's hesitance to jump back to normal while it is still a whole pandemic outside. We also need to be clear that when we speak so heavily for our kids, we need to make sure that we are in fact speaking for all of our kids across the Commonwealth, and not just those in school districts that are already back to in-person learning, but those whose districts have been underfunded and aren't ready as well. So much goes into public health, Madam Speaker, and I'm just asking for all of this energy behind getting schools back open to also be present to vote in support of bills that keep these students and families and teachers and staff safe in other ways too. Virginia residents need safety and security through equitable access to the vaccine, a living wage, access to food, worker protections, evictions prevention, the norm of justice being served equally, the peace of mind to know that they will be treated fairly no matter their zip code, tax bracket, skin color, disability status, citizenship status, no matter who they love or how they identify, and their prior convictions. But Madam Speaker, that's not what I've seen this session or in the 6 sessions I've been here. So I just want to remind the body and the public that words matter, facts matter, short-term and long-term memory matter, and consistency matters. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Delegate Price. The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate